My name is Jason. This is what happened when I was about 16 years old. I'm 27 now, and what happened that day would change everything. I live in West Virginia, where there's mountains all around, so I grew up in the woods, hunting, camping, riding ATVs. So one day, me and two of my friends Brian and Jesse, we went out to our ATVs to find a place to camp that weekend. This was Thursday, and we wanted to find a place to camp on Saturday. We went pretty far into the woods to try and find the best spot we could because we were bringing our girlfriends camping with us. So we got probably 5 or 6 miles back into the woods and found this little lake, and we all knew we'd found the spot for the weekend. We got off our ATVs and checked everything out to make sure it wasn't private property or anything, but there were no signs and there wasn't a house around for miles. "This is it," Jesse said, and we all agreed it was perfect. So we all get back on our four-wheelers and head back, knowing that Saturday was going to be a night to remember. But what we didn't know was that it would be the worst night of our lives. So we got back the next day. We got all of our gear loaded up. Fishing poles, tents, sleeping bags. We made sure we had everything we needed to make it a fun night. This included 3 bottles of Mad Dog and a 30-pack of Bud Light in a cooler. We were ready. We all met up at 11 o'clock Saturday morning and headed out to our perfect camping spot. When we got there, it was great. We put up all the tents, got the firewood, and set everything up. The girls loved it too, except Brian's girlfriend, Kat. She said she felt uneasy, but we figured it was because she'd never been camping before. We started fishing and swimming and drinking, just doing everything teenagers usually do. But Kat, she just kept looking around, and she wouldn't join us by the lake. Finally, it started to get dark, so we started a fire and made some hot dogs and just sat around talking about stories, everything you do when you camp. It's about 11:30 when Sam, who was Jesse's girlfriend, said she was going to pee, and Kat went with her. They were gone maybe 4 minutes when they came running back, saying Kat saw something behind a tree watching them. I grabbed my weapon that I brought with me, and me and Jesse went to check it out. We didn't find anything, so we thought the campfire stories probably just freaked them out. We got back, and we told them we didn't find anything, but Kat said she knows what she saw, and she wanted to leave. We got her to chill out, and me having a weapon kinda put her mind at ease. After about 30 to 45 minutes, we were all ready to lay down and spend some time alone with our significant others. And no one is even thinking about what Kat saw anymore. I wish we would have left because about an hour goes by and my girlfriend Lindsay was asleep. But I was there, laying and listening to the sounds of the woods when I started to hear footsteps. At first, I thought it was the others, but I couldn't tell who it was walking, and they were trying to do it really quietly. The footsteps stopped at my tent door. I started to freak out inside, but didn't make a sound. They just stood there for 3 minutes, and then I saw the zipper starting to slowly unzip. I went to grab my weapon when I realized I left it by the bag. So stupid, I was thinking. The zipper moved about 6 inches slowly when Lindsay coughed, and it stopped. She stayed asleep, and she didn't know someone or something was trying to break into our tent. I heard nothing for about 5 minutes, and then the footsteps again, but sneaking away from the tent. I can't move, and I was terrified. So all I did was stay quiet and hope it didn't come back. 30 minutes passed when all of a sudden the most crazy sounding evil scream I've ever heard came from the next tent over, and it was Brian and Kat's. They started screaming. I jumped up, running out of the tent, and Lindsay's awake now, so I ran right to my bag for the weapon. Lindsay, right beside me, still terrified, not knowing what was going on. I grabbed the weapon and looked at their tent, and what I see still haunts my dreams to this day. This pale, white, long arms with long claws at the end of the long fingers. It looked like a humanoid type of thing, just taking chunks out of Brian, biting him. I used the weapon, and it looked up, and its yellow eyes just stared into my soul. I was shaking as it started galloping towards us, with Lindsay screaming. I used the weapon again, and it took off into the woods screaming that god-awful scream. We ran up to their tent, and Jesse and Sam had seen it all. They saw what was happening, so we started to run. But for Brian and Kat, it was too late. They were both torn up. I couldn't even tell who was who. The girls were crying, and Jesse puked, and I felt like I was in a nightmare. I had Lyme tunnel vision, and I was scanning the woods, hoping whatever that was didn't come back. Jesse and the girls were all huddled up next to me, and we made our way to the ATVs. I was looking into the woods the whole time, with my weapon pointing towards that way the thing ran off. We got to the ATVs, and I realized the keys were in the tent in my pants pocket. About that time, we heard that thing scream again. I told them to wait there, and I had to go back and get my keys. I didn't have a choice, as much as I didn't want to go back. I ran as fast as I could to the tent to grab the keys and turned to run back, and there it was. It came straight out of the woods, running right at me as I raised my weapon and I started hitting it. I hit it because it yelped and it screamed and it turned and ran back to the woods again. I ran back to the ATVs and we rode out of there so fast that I'm surprised we didn't wreck it. We went right to the cops and told them everything that happened. They went up to where we were. They came back after what seemed like forever and took us back there with them. By this time, it was lights out. We got back there and everything was destroyed. The tents were ripped up, the stuff was thrown everywhere, and they took me to Brian's tent and there was blood everywhere, but no bodies. The cops said, "Where are they?" And I said, "I don't know. They were here when we left, but that thing must have took them." Then they started saying it looked like a bear did this and tried to say we were drunk and must have been mistaken about what we saw. I know what I saw, and whatever that was, it wasn't even close to looking like a bear. It's over 10 years later, and Brian and Kat's bodies have never been found. It was wrote up as a black bear attack. I never talked about it to anyone. Jesse and Sam got married and moved to Florida. Lindsay moved too, but we broke up not long after that happened, so I don't even know where. What still gets me is whatever that was, it was at our tent first, but Lindsay coughed and it went to Brian and Kat's tent. What I can tell you is whatever that thing was, it certainly was not a bear. The cops wrote it down as us being drunk, and maybe there was roughhousing going on. They never wanted to get to the underlying issue of what that thing really could have been. And since then, I haven't heard many stories about anything like that happening again. But what I do know is that Lindsay's cough saved my life. So I have nobody to thank but her.